him joining in online, but sitting here, me sharing the screen. So we'll see.
Discord audio coming through this laptop into this mic.
Yeah,
This is delicate.
Yeah. All right. It won't be now. The stage is not online, but in Gravity Sketch there's a thing called collab where people can join from everywhere. So yeah. All right. Is this mic work? So, well, thanks for being here. This is mostly just a public service announcement for what we liked for the last couple of years, using not only Gravity Sketch, but all the sort of collaborative or immersive VR tools for visual development. But just a quick intro who we are, and then we jump right in. So, my name is Pip Comerla. I come from the northern part of Italy you can expect. But nothing special about that. High up in the mountains. There's just one thing that people don't know about it, and that's the oldest mummy found in the ice to date. And I presented as a trophy, and it is because Brad Pitt has a tattoo of that guy. And that's true, and I don't even know why, and neither does him. But it makes me proud, connects me to Hollywood where I belong. But anyway, so I come from the mountains, and this gentleman here comes from the desert in somewhere. Where you come from?
I'm from Southern California, from a hot and dry place.
Yeah, pretty much like that. We're both art directors at Netflix, but it couldn't be more different in terms of water supply.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. So I come from the mountains. I paid a lot of mountains. So I have been before AI took my job, but that's fine. But more importantly, we like to create worlds, scenes, and stories. Regular ones, more bizarre ones.
And I got my start in television. I was art director for Gravity Falls, and Amphibia, and now I do concept art, whatever, it's a film television. This is Gravity Falls. And it's this personal concept art brainstorming, not necessarily specific to anything.
Yeah, he's humble. He's the best.
I worked on Mitchell versus a Machine for a minute, very early. When none of this stuff actually.
This is mom. Yeah, we have been spending basically the last, I think, 2.5 years at this point, trying to explore new ways to visual develop.
This is paint. It's huge.
My mom. Okay, bear with me. Probably work related.
It's door.
Is it though?
Yeah.
All right. But what I was going to say is we spent the last couple of years just changing the way we explore world, we create worlds for a job, but also for our personal projects. And I get very proud thinking that I cheated. Like, we learned how to cheat properly, just to not do what everybody thinks is worthwhile to learn, because at the end of the day when drawing is hard, and I had no formal education, and I always felt what I wanted to do was just not achievable with the skills I had, because as we know, if I had to put it into a picture, there's just so much blocking you from what you actually want to do. And I always felt that there's a shame, and I'm not married to an unique or inherent artistic way. I just want to get there, and that as quickly as possible. So we found tools to help us, and specific tools more than others. It's all about just creating that that little, just shortening the distance between what we want and what we get. So, Photoshop is one thing, 3D is one other thing, and maybe immersive tools are the next thing. Because, drawing in perspective is hard, as I said. If things get complicated, it gets even harder. But, and here comes the point. If you build, like my brother is a car engineer, and he cannot draw like a zero. He cannot do it at all. But with sand, he could actually make the car. And why is that so? Because he was closer to his experience of real life. Like he knew how to build a car. He didn't know how to draw a car. Because it's not about the imagination, it's just the abstraction there was a disconnect. It's not close to the experience we have. And that's where the light just came on to me. Like, wait, I could cheat this way too. Because we know it, you block something in, you paint over it. That's like 2020, 2014 kind of thing. So back when Quill came out, I just tried it out. And just even scribbling your ideas in a dimensional sense, immersing yourself immediately into, I could just make different decisions. I'm not saying better or worse, but just feel the subject matter different and potentially communicating even better this way. So this feels like Stone Age now, but I was really impressed how I could approach this in that way to get where I wanted to go. And more importantly, when I was doing a commercial for like a short film for Greenpeace back in the day, where it was all about trying to get the audience to feel like one of those orangutans threatened by the deforestation. So it was all about just diving in and actually be that just be that subject matter and feel like that. And so in VR, I could actually be that monkey. And so I want to believe the success of that product was also there's an unhinged connection that you would do with your design this way. And then, and needless to say, if you have to do complicated choreographies in a room, you might as well be in that room too, in person, not just on your movies device as it's commonly used.
Yeah, so I was just going to add to that. Lit, he's all about the tools, like Blender, VR. Like, I've been a 2D only artist for years and years and years, like over a decade. And like, my style of working is trying to get as close to the speed of my thought when I'm working as possible. So I work very, very fast when I draw. And that's just because when you're brainstorming, you're in that creative mode, like it comes out faster than you can, produce. And then you forget or you lose your groove or your motivation. And then so working in 3D, that same headspace where you're a 2D artist and you want to generate quickly in a 3D environment, when you go into Blender or Maya or ZBrush, and this is probably a lot of lack of experience, but I'm working on 3D on a 2D screen. There's a translation that needs to happen. And we have bad tools. We have a 3-button mouse and hotkeys and modifiers to like figure out how to operate in this space. And this thing allows you to actually design 3D in 3D environment. And it's obvious, but it makes a huge difference when I can move my head around objects and I can grab the object, duplicate and stretch and manipulate. And I can bring my 2D sensibilities or the way that I'm created in 3D stage using the feedback tools. And then add to that,
preaching to the converted, but this is actually very true. And just top on whatever or anything it said with the fact that you can do it with your best friend or with your friends, with your colleagues, with people you want to achieve great things. So we have spent countless hours just building the world we wanted, and just in an afternoon, just throwing things out quickly, not perfectly, but then you can always go in and refine things as you please. And and then bring it to the next level.
Yeah. This is just an example of what whatever environment, just riffing off of ideas that just gets done.
Yeah, just
A couple hours just messing around, being creative.
and this was not a couple of hours.
No, this is a couple of months. Yeah, this is another piece my most recent piece that I finished that was started in VR, and it was familiar territory, an old friend, the Mystery Chefs. I had always wanted to, as a 2D artist, translate my 2D work to the 3D environment. But then, of course, trying to make it look like it kind of sort of feels like the style. It has the 3D aesthetic, but that's just a difference. Then here's my...
Look at him.
There I go.
Yeah, the Mystery Shack.
Mystery Shack.
Yeah, I've seen him. Yeah, I've been there. It's nice. It's great. But the good part is it's also very tool agnostic, because what can be very cartoony and have a certain aesthetic, we're not bound to that. This, even though the tools are very simple, it allows for a wide variety of looks. You know, other tests just going into a little bit of another vibe, something more still stylized but and mysterious, but just branching off. And this is just something we would decide on an afternoon, like, let's make something badass this time and something funny that time. So that we just bring in this because there's nothing we can say that will send you the idea better than just trying it out. This is like, yeah, like it, I don't like it, but if you try it, you will never go back. I had none of my colleagues that we bullied into using it that have gone back whatsoever.
Yeah, I was admittedly skeptical of putting a computer on my face, and I've been doing Photoshop and sketchbooks for 10, 15 years now for work professionally, and if that put this on your face, that's like, this is nonsense.
Do it now.
Do it now. But like, this is permanently a part of my kit. I have Photoshop, I have Cintiq, I have this. All of those are people in my eyes as a creative person using tools. And that's a big statement for me, like, to have that as part of my essential kit, to be able, as someone who has to design worlds, there's nothing like being inside of the world while you're designing it versus being on just a 2D surface. It's a totally different thing. It's hard to experience. You're going to experience it on a 2D surface, and it doesn't. It's not gonna. You won't understand what we're describing until you try this.
Yeah, we're just here to be excited about something. But try it, and if we're right, let us know. If we're wrong, let us know. But yeah, it ties into also what we always wanted as artists. Just hop into a room with people you care and just make something you post on Instagram or just love. It's literally that simple. It really felt like being kids again when you could just crack up some jokes in the space with your colleagues. It feels like play, but you actually did work for real money. Did I miss something?
I don't know. So this part's weird. Like, so there's tools, and there's tools that we use as individual artists. But the collaborative angle, that was a new thing. We started using this, and then I feel like collab was added by the team, by the Gravity Sketch team. Later,
Yeah, eventually,
right?
yeah.
So like, we've been hyping the tool as individual users, but as a team, it's so hard to describe what the sensation is like. I was trying to imagine the like equivalent, like working together with artists in a production. It's like mostly it's a conversation. We're exchanging ideas. Maybe we're at a conference room table and we're doing some chicken scratch like notes on napkins or whatever, and then we all disperse. We go to our desk. We do our thing. And then maybe we come back together. But like what would the equivalent be to design together in a space? What would we get out a big piece of paper and we would all work on one drawing at the same time? Like even then we would spread out and find our own little corner. Um, and we would get in each other's way. It would feel unnatural. But in VR, in a virtual space, it's the opposite. We can design together. We can handle and create with the same objects and share, and it feels natural. It feels necessary in that environment. And that's a brand new thing. And I'm still like, it's still relatively new as designers working together to like wrestle with this. Like, what does it mean? Like, this is, I can't explain how cool this is. Like, I cannot describe it. You have to experience it. The design as a team on the same thing. A total game changer. Like, I'm never going back. Like, any production that I have or that I'm on in the future, like, here,
Oh yeah.
we get one, everyone gets one, we're jumping in, let's go design a world together.
And you can steal parts of the thing that you're calling that. You can steal it and use it. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, yes.
I like that.
Virtual crime.
It's virtual. And yeah, we wanted to, as a second part, just try to get in with two friends who may join us online. One is Sunmin In, which is also an art director in Athletics Feature, and Ador Shamir, who has worked with us also for a couple of years. Luminary artists in their own kinds, and as just an example, we showed it to them, and there's no way back. And I want to be, you all could be those converts right now. Or at home, so we're gonna try something there with us.
Season risky.
This is the most duct tapey shit I've ever done, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to Mars.
Hang tight. This might turn into 1/2 technical difficulties.
Yeah, we are artists though. Like, just remember, we're just artists.
We could turn this into a little Q&A also. Gaps. I think those sounds.
Okay, let's give it a shot. Yeah, we call them first.
Door, can you speak? Summit?
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you guys hear them sort of? All right, we're here. We're live in the room with our guests. We're gonna jump into the room.
Into the danger zone.
Okay.
Danger filming.
Okay. So by the way, this works without a cable too, but I'm a little worried that the signal is not that good with all the people in here, so I'm plugging it in.
We can't see.
Yeah. Now it does. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's part of the game, isn't it?
This is as close as I've ever been to you working together because we're all spread out in different offices. Door's in Montreal right now.
Yeah. Let me see. Let's get this going. So clumsy. We're gonna restart.
Did I hear googly eyes? That's the correct answer if that is the correct.
Did you?
I bought No. I bought a big package of them, but I lost them. I was gonna give them away. Is it working?
Yeah, there's a new one, by the way, coming out, and I hope it will solve some of our problems. It's not working yet. Yeah. Yes, sir. Well, as soon as I load Gravity, it'll browser screen will pop up.
Is it not working?
Well, you have to reattach it.
Does anybody have any questions while we're sorting this out?
Um, your collaborative creative sketch done? And do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, in Gravity Sketch.
So, for the longest time, we were using the enterprise version, where that allowed us up to 10 people in one room. Right now, we're using, I guess, free version, so we can have 4 people in one room, and it's an option when you have an online account to just jump into this room together. So it's in the UI. This is the Quest 2? Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's Quest 2.
But you guys started on 2?
Yeah.
He did. I used Quill just a little bit, but far out of buddies had said I didn't have. This is when it finally became accessible because it's, a few $100s. It's not connected to anything. Like, I don't need also like a several $1,000 computer to run it. That's when it became like, oh, now we can all do this together. You can, is if it's you have to optimize it a little bit. Low poly, but it will read textures. So if you bring if it has UVs, and so you bring in the model and then you bring in an image, and you can assign that to the model inside in the room. So we did that for a couple things, like we had but we haven't really stress tested it because we're primarily just modeling and designing. Textures were not. Our particular project wasn't necessarily. Mm-hmm. So we're like, is it not streaming lit?
Yeah, for some reason, but well,
It was working. We were in here an hour early and everything was fine.
yes. But it's not said. It's still win.
Are you in the room?
No, I'm not. I'm still trying to connect to the.
So for us, like, we are concept artists. We're not making 3D models for production. Like, we just need raw material to paint on top of, and so we'll bring it into Blender, our model, and just do some garbage auto UVs and put some procedural textures just to give us a head start in Photoshop. But Dor, who's a proper 3D artist, will work in Gravity Sketch, sketching his characters, and then he'll take it in ZBrush and go to
All right.
behind his work.
I think I made it.
Gravity Sketch to the concept.
Here we are.
Are we in?
There we go. We made it. Applause for the tech.
Oh, hey, how you doing?
So we have Sutpin, the red giant outside. We have Ian, the tiny dwarf, in here, and myself. And then we have Dor Shamir. He's pretty tiny, but he's actually a big man. And everything in this room, basically what happens, we got together and talk, hey, we're going to do this talk. What should we do? And while we discussed it, we just built a bunch of garbage. But so we have Rifle and Goofy. We have, I don't even know. But, yeah, you can.
What do you mean? Uh-huh. Oh, I mean, this is pure just playtime. This is just mesh totally colliding with other mesh. Like, we not necessarily worried about Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, you can. There's a function where you can group it and group at will. So there's a single part, and then you just select them all and then group
Yeah.
them together.
There are ways to organize. There's layers and grouping and a lot of times, but the tools are limited. This one of the strengths I think of this particular app is how simple it is. Um, and so there's a lot of planning for complexity later in other software. So if I want to select all of the green on Pepe, then I just make sure to use the same material, and then I can select by material layer and border. I'll plan for the technical work once I'm out of this, if that makes sense.
So the Dora is making our D&D skeleton character set after making after moving A the table and B and B making a wizard which you can scale up and scale down. And that's a beautiful part because you can just immerse yourself in what you do, but then be the architect, so the 30,000 feet high arbiter of your creation. So there's so much flexibility with what you do, and it's very light. Like they are using. I'm plugged into a computer, but they are all using standalone ones, so there is no performance issues. What's going on with the table, friends? Somebody
Wait,
the
can
table.
you try to undo?
Yeah, I think it's not me. It's you guys. I know you could bong in the meantime.
I'll put it.
It's not a bong,
I'll
for
put
the
it back.
record. It's not a bong.
Yes.
Yes.
No, everyone has their own undo, I guess, history that we can unwind. Yeah, that sounds like the Wild West. Who knows? I don't know.
But isn't that's the good part? Nobody knows what's happening. So there's. But yeah, it is a dream to me to just get together and jam around to say, hey, well, what are we gonna do this? What if there is it's a giant castle here, and we can talk about it, and then do it. And it's the equivalent of the napkin sketch, but you can export this into Blender and then light it, and it feels very, very sort of rich in explanation in what you actually wanted to convey. So it's basically just our hangout room as just for the sake of this presentation. But we have done, I want to say 1,000,000, but that's not true. But it's maybe 1,000 of those over the years, just creating what we wanted to do in a way that we couldn't do before. So there are many ways, and there is a tutorial that walks through the main functions from Gravity Sketch itself, and I think it's very good. So even if you never use any VR tool, just going through that tutorial gets you pretty up to speed to at least have fun. Um, mhm. So many will you a glow, by the way, I think. I'm gonna lock this right now. But sorry, so we get to your question in a second. Can somebody go back in the history? And that's the beauty of just messing other people's stuff up. I can do it by hand. Don't worry. I got you. this is every user gets its own space. It's limited to 4 player basically, and the enterprise version is 10, which is it's a good thing. 4 people is nice. And I'm gonna ask Dor and Sumi a couple of questions because they just learned this. They're not as experienced as we are. I mean, Dor is a veteran, but Sumin is fairly new. So I'm gonna just have her talk about her experience because she's a veteran in animation, but very new to this way. So Sumin, can you talk? You hear me?
Yeah. Can you
Oh.
hear me?
Yes. Everybody can hear her? So now that you heard us jabber and be annoying and probably a little bit heavy-handed in our excitement, what do you think about sort of this? What's a highlight of this way of jamming around and exploring your design this way?
Well, I don't use this usually to collaborate with other people. I use it to quickly mock up models for the concept art that I do for work. And the really big part that I really like about Gravity Sketch is that it's so intuitive. And I thought that Blender was kind of intuitive, but then this is like instantly, you just need like an hour or so to just know what the tools are. And after you know what the tools are, it's like you can build anything you want. I mean, obviously you can't build production models, but for concept art and stuff like that, it is so fast. And I can whip out an environment extremely quickly. And so it's been a huge benefit to my tool set.
Thanks for supporting our cause. Thanks for that. For a second, I was like, I don't use it enough. What? Well, thanks, Min. And you guys should check her workout. Is nothing special, but I'm gonna throw this over the door as well because he's at core a character designer. So how does that play in for his type of thing? Can you hear me, Dor?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I think it's one of the, well, thank you.
Sorry.
Mr.
Go ahead.
Corella.
I didn't mean that.
Yeah, it's been great using it. We've been using it together in Nick and myself for the past 2 years, maybe. How long has it been? And I think it's a great tool for characters as well. Obviously, the benefit of stepping out an environment is very directly shown, and it's amazing. I love and I use it since we started using it to sketch pretty much all of the characters and the work I've been doing. Just mocking up something quickly is so helpful to kind of be immersed in the environment and with the character. It really helps to kind of feel the volumes and the proportions and kind of posing out a quick pose or sketch. And I usually tend to take it further with either ZBrush or Blender or stuff like that. Some paint over at times, but for the initial kind of rough sketch, it's been my go-to since I started.
Cool. Well, it's a good answer. That's what I wanted to hear. Approved. So I guess you've been speaking about it for a little bit. So I guess you're my team. Yeah. So I would probably add again to the effect of the call-up because it was a question. How for somebody that hadn't tried it, and I know drawing is something quite personal and not really collaborative. What does it change? How does it feel to immediately work on a design in pairs, in triplets, in quads? Just walk us through a little bit through that experience.
This question is for me.
It could be for you.
Yeah, because right now we're all spread out working on our own little corner of this world. I mean, with it, design designing well requires context. And I'm in a space and I'm watching my buddies, my colleagues. I'm being inspired and informed by their work, and the feedback is instant, and that just feeds the creative machine. Like, I'm watching Door work on this skeleton, and it's giving me ideas about maybe we have a shot that we're working on, and the scale of his skeleton and how his shape language affects how I think about the design and the composition. Like, it's all instant feedback, and it's just more, it's more input. As designers, like, we constantly need input. Like, if I were at my desk, what would I be doing? I get stuck, and then I just hit up Google, looking for context or input, or wherever. But like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have to try it. And by the way, what time is it? Just because we are in the zone. Oh, okay, we gotta get some time. So good. So maybe because it's all nice and cool, it's all wow, but there's some bottlenecks still, and one was, as you guys experienced, us barely getting it to work. Um, and so, Dor, or maybe you have more experience of that? What do you think is one of the main bottlenecks that should be different, and we want to see as artists different to make this be even more useful or more exciting? And that could go from hardware to functions. I just want to get what could be better still.
Yeah. Um, I think that something that came up a lot of times that we uh, talking about how the hardware now is that it's still kind of counterintuitive or a little bit unpleasant having a screen strapped to your face for a long time. So hardware-wise, I think this is something that could get better. There's obviously a new headset coming in. Looking forward to that. Um, and I think that software-wise, I haven't touched this idea for a long time, but I think that specifically for collaboration and for design of the space, we talked about it a few times of having a better representation of the camera to be able to kind of see the same view that we all discussed as if we're talking about a specific composition. So
Yeah.
this I think could be super helpful for designing a shot or designing a space for the future.
Yeah, that's true. Having a strong camera system that then build to camera feels something that is lacking most, just because
Mm-hmm.
you can build it here, but then only in Blender when we export, we really get a sense through the aperture and light and everything. So getting a little bit more of the feedback into here, because if you see, the light is not very grand. It's just literally just a building light, just to be able to tell shapes apart. So I think we're gonna get there where the rendition of the whole world will get better very fast. I think. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and also like this is the equivalent of these giant mobile phones our parents probably used, and very soon we will have this slick thing that projects into our brains, and we'll be happy. I hope.
Yeah, this app is interesting. From what I understand, just based on the work that Gravity Sketch company presents. Like, this started as a vehicle design tool, right, or product design tool. This is, they never imagined that we would need to be looking through a camera to evaluate a 2D composition. Like, even when we brought that up to the team, because we have occasional meetings with the developers, they seemed confused about that idea. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
why do you need a camera for your art?
They love us now, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm in danger of bringing
Yeah.
everything. I'm just bringing in so-called 3D fabs where this stuff we build. I'm gonna get rid in a sec if they're gonna heal it. Um, okay, never mind. Was that? But it's stuff you would just build, and you can make a library so that you don't always have to do the same chair, the same beer thin and stuff. So there's a good system of just adding to that look. Imagine if you have a certain stylization level you want to go for, you have that. And now comes the big question that I kind of want to ask, because I have a small Patreon where this is sort of the main question I get, and sometimes I throw it back to Gravity, is where what tools, like how important is it that I learn those type of tools, those type of sort of modern ways to explore and design to stay competitive? Like, what should I learn? And I want to throw it first to Sun Min, maybe. Like, you get the question in 2022. What should I learn to stay competitive as a this dev artist in the animation industry? How important is it to know those tools besides of all the good stuff from drawing, learning how light works, and yada yada?
I get this question a lot. So my answer usually is that, if you're a set designer, right? Or there's like a specialty that you do. Like if you're a color person and you do color scripts, or, you do character design and whatnot. Whatever gets you to do the work more efficiently, you should probably learn. Because all these other people, all these other artists are also like upping their game, and all these new technologies are coming up. And so it's a lot of pressure to have to like learn everything, but I promise you there's something out there for you that is more intuitive for you as a tool to learn. And so I would really suggest to look for that program. For me, it's definitely Gravity Sketch. So it's just like really about efficiency and, getting your ideas across as fast as possible.
That makes sense. Well, what would you say, Ian? That what do you people recommend?
It's probably a bad take. I don't I am not necessarily motivated by staying competitive or relevant, and I just, that may be a bad idea, and it's gonna catch up to me. But in order to be a successful artist, just day to day, I need to be inspired and motivated. Like, I need to be hyped about what I'm doing. And one of the things that does that be best, and this is so weird, but giving an answer with this.
Let's go.
Now you stay all on your bounce out. So what the thing that helps me is experimenting and using new tools. Like, I get really excited about that. Like I've been doing this for 10, 15 years now, and I get a little bit, it gets tedious, it gets monotonous, I get a little bit bored, and that's a problem for me, as just being effective. So new tools, new techniques, it just like reinvigorates me. And as a side effect, I'm sure it's helping me remain competitive. I guess. Like, if I know these tools, it will help me, I'm sure, stay at the cutting edge or whatever. But it's not like, oh, I'm going to be left behind, I better do this thing. That's just me. I get really excited about this stuff. I love experimenting. I love breaking systems, the ways that you're supposed to do things. I don't think that I could show up for work every day, crack open Photoshop, and just like, okay, let's do the next thing. I'd get too bored. And things like this help me, like, oh, there's new ways to visualize things. It just like gives me that boost.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I would just add that I've always just learned the little bit of technique that allowed me to move further. So I like to brag that I'm bad at every single program, but I'm always using them for what I need. And so we're not trying to sell you a tool, like a specific tool, but just an understanding that there, there, there are tools here that just project you on another speed. Because in the end, you're doing what you do not because you love that type of interface or that type of process. You just have this urge to create. And if this is facilitating it, so be it. But we could stop talking about this tomorrow if we could find an even better solution. So we're not sort of the ambassador of something specific, but more the ambassador of some approach, which is nothing new at all. It just, we felt we gotta tell people how fun this is, so maybe they'll try it. What about you, Dor? What do you do?
I agree with you. I think that at the end of the day, these are just tools, and we need to continue um, practicing. I think that quite similarly to Ian, I feel like looking and yourself, just the idea of continuing experimenting and finding new techniques that might be helpful to help. It's a great approach, and this is how we found this one or other things we've been using. And so it's basically keep on looking for what are the new tools and how can we use them to our benefit or our process. I think it's a very specific, um, it's a specific question for um, different jobs. So it could be useful for many different reasons. But the idea is, yeah, keep on experimenting and finding new techniques that could accelerate our process and help us be more creative and find new looks
Yeah,
on this type of stuff.
and I will add that, and I will only say it because I was massively frustrated for decades how slow Photoshop just evolves. Whereas at the team on Gravity Sketch, we had a couple of calls with them. It's like, hey, I want this, I want free shit, and they just gave it to us. And they were really listening, even functionality, trying to make it better for specific and very different types of use cases, which is, it's not obvious to think about it. Having a very responsive team trying to make things better for how you want to do it. So that was kind of remarkable, and we can thank them enough. Uh, yeah, that's that. We If there are a couple of questions, you can ask him now, or I can just put up this thing. Like, it's been a while now. Um, but yeah,
I have a question. Can you like the images to show or with the obviously with taking a little bit part of that we just said is wrapping after the main idea here, right?
right.
So like what would happen afterwards? Like you said the model would take the ZBrush, but you guys are concept artists, how can you take it to have textures in there, make it look like some of it was animated too. So
There are many ways to go about it, and some are very classic, some are more experimental, but in the end, what you get is a pretty good geometry. It's not a sort of game-ready geometry, but you get a very light geometry that you can blend and import, tweak if you need to. We mostly don't, because we're not trying to make real-time assets, but we use Blender. Those examples you saw were mostly camera projected paintings on top of those, just to get that sort of the 2D vibe onto very simple huge shapes. But you could make whatever texture you're comfortable with. So that's it's from there you take it. There is even a way to add textures on Gravity, but it's not something we use now. But it has come a long way in terms of output, because it used to be very buggy, normals all over the place. But now it's pretty reasonable.
so you sorry, you use project and Blender, so you think over in Photoshop and then
That's one technique to do it. And we like it personally because it's the lazy man's work. But for effect, because you get full control. Yeah, just sure. I mean, look, like anything I've said, when I'm talking to friends, imagine if this was gonna happen the next 2 years, it's 10 times better than what I was. So we're gonna see probably everything you would imagine. But yeah, seeing it unfold has been a quite positive experience.
Yeah, and I don't like. It seems like some of your questions, I would be the wrong person to ask. I am not really artist. I have no business it's a. I feel like an intruder. Like someone allowed me to like participate in this 3D designing. Like that's not how I was trained. Like I don't know anything about the balls. Like I can get results. I spent 10 years like downloading versions of student Maya or whatever and trying to like do 3D stuff, and it's just like this.
Yeah.
And then finally, someone gave me a tool that I understand, and I can just make things. But like, I don't know.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. We are nothing further from 3D technical artists, but now we've become this weird guy just talk about blocking stuff in 3D, and that's remarkable. So if I get him to love it and stand here with me, that just means it's a winner.
You're onto something. I suppose I feel like Blender, like Lip introduced me to VR, and Blender, whatever that version was with Eevee, came out at the exact same time, and so naturally they were paired, and it's more complicated, and it took more time to do proper training there. But just like this, Blender is intuitive and so accessible. Like I have a lot of experience in other complicated programs, and so there is a muscle memory to using software that I can learn quickly. But like it's so easy now. There's no, and the thing with Blender is because it's free. Like there's a lot of resources. You get stuck, Google search, you're right there. Like versus other times I tried to learn program, I gotta go digging, and it's expensive. It's just like accessible.
Yeah, it is a gateway, 100%. The short answer is yes, because if you don't have anything to light, you're not gonna light anything. So you just need bodies to light, basically potatoes, whatever you want to light in that program. So that's how I use Cinema 4D a little bit, and it helped me because it's if you compare it to Maya, it's still the simpler, more accessible, but it's not close how easy it is now to navigate in Blender as well. Just because there is, for every issue we'll have, just Google it. There's the 20 solutions that this one, and then yep.
Yeah. Aftermarket strap.
That's a good way to put it. Well, I think taking breaks, yeah. So maybe half an hour, and then you take a break, look far. I mean, our friend Gaurav Fujita, he just lives in there, and he's fine. But yeah, the tools are evolving. Don't overdo it. It's still basically a phone on your head.
Yeah, I always show up with a plan. Like I spend as much time outside of the headset doing sketches. I'm gathering reference. I know what I'm going to attempt before I show up, put it on, and be like, what am I doing? Like,
Yes.
I've got 30, 45 minutes. Like, it's like being a diver. That's how much air I have. And then I gotta cool it, go like put some cold packs on my face, take a drink of water, or like, and that's just the technology limitations that I'm assuming will because it is unpleasant.
But that's a navigation problem. It's just I mean, there's gonna be a new one coming out soon, I hope, and yeah, it's. I think that if there is a takeaway, the takeaway is just if you wanted to keep momentum as you would draw, as you would paint, this is the closest you can get. But and it's not a drawing program. It's a stage. We use it as a staging program, sort of a building, a prototyping. It's so many things, but it's not that 3D package where you try to wrangle geometry and just lose your passion with it. You had question. I'll let you take the second one. And by the way, this is part of a tutorial which is available. And
Yeah.
I don't want to sort of sell his products, but it's worth it. If you have any question and want to make something as nice, this is a very, very good tutorial. It's very affordable. Just a couple of cappuccinos and you did it. But to the question, I've where is it?
I don't know, man. You
It's on Gumroad.
Gumroad, if you put in my name plus Gumroad or ArtStation, I'm sure you come through find it.
Yeah. So we've tried different tools. I've used a little bit of the especially Door. Actually, let me get that to Door if he's still on.
I am here.
He used
Can you repeat the
NVR
question?
a little bit. He used do you try different VR design tools in the past? Is like how does it compare? Like, I mean, they all do different things. The Quill is another thing.
Right.
So Door, is there anything to be said about the different the buffet of tools we got at the moment?
So was the question was just about the different tools?
Yeah. Well, whatever you have tried, and how does it compare to that's all medium?
Yeah,
Right.
medium versus you even did the animation one as well. But any insights?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Gravity Sketch has been my favorite for now for sketching and wrapping out ideas quickly, and it's also much more easier for me to kind of iterate and make versions and edit the meshes that I make. Medium is a great tool for. It's a bit more similar to ZBrush, so with working on voxels, so it's a bit more sculpting like rather than creating polygons meshes in Gravity Sketch. And there's also a bunch of tools that can actually make animation, which have been super interesting, but I didn't get into too much. NVR was great, but I think they're kind of pausing the development. So this is another tool we've been kind of playing with. Yeah.
And I'll bring up because I know Daniela, which is a colleague of ours, that she uses Medium. Adobe Medium now is Substance Modeler. It's a different approach to voxel sculpting, and if you're interested, please interrupt. But she has found a way in the immersive creation for actual sculpting. So we're not sculpting; we're just pushing around stuff for just visualizing. So blocking out ideas, whereas this can become much more than that. So there, long story short, there are many tools that do different things, and there will be much more other things that do even other things. We're just here to try them all and scrap the ones that don't work and use them the ones we like. This quite remarkable. But yeah, I hope this was just a primer, or just at least the excitement jumps over. There's nothing more than that, because it worked on us. We had some success and good times with it, and the rest is to be seen. We just want to make cool shit with your friends, isn't it? Thanks, Dor and Sun Min, for bearing with us in the cyberspace. And yeah, if you want to know more, like we are to be found online and in person. If you want to chat more about it on the subject. Yeah, thanks for hanging out.
Thank you.